We'll call the September 7th, 2022 Decatur County Board of Zoning Appeals meeting to order. To comply with Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, Decatur County requests that participants in this meeting complete a voluntary anonymous survey that is available on the table in the back of the room. First item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the July 6th, 2022 meeting. Those are in your packet. Did everyone review them? Anybody find any additions or corrections needed? Not, I'll look for a motion to accept.
I make the motion that we accept them as mailed out and as put on emails.
Do I have a second?
I second, please.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those minutes are accepted. Next is the approval of the minutes from the July 26th meeting. That was our public meeting, correct?
Yes.
You would have had those as well. Did anyone have any additions or corrections to those? Hearing none, I'll look for a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Seconded.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And in interest of time, I am going to shuffle the agenda. So the first petition that we're going to hear tonight, BZA petition 2022-10, Walt Johnson is requesting a variance as provided in Decatur County Ordinance number 330 to build a pond across property lines. Property is located at 13667 South State Road 3, Westport and Jackson Township. Walt, if you could come up to the podium and tell us about the project.
So I went to the area plan office, I don't know, a couple months ago to get a permit to extend the pond I already have. And she told me that there's this ordinance that a body of water can't cross the property line. And I said, okay, understood, but I own both properties. So whenever she told me why, I understood, because she said maybe in the past, if a landowner sells that property, the second parcel, and someone builds a house on it, then there's an issue with sharing a body of water, maybe pollution or whatever the case might be. So understood. Well, this particular property is landlocked. So the only way to get to it is from my property that where my house is. And the other reason it's landlocked, even though it's on State Road 3, the property has Poplar Root Creek that borders a highway all the way along all road frontage. So it has no road frontage either. And my experience with NDOT has been, I mean, I did work for NDOT for 25 years, and there's no way that they'll ever give a permit to build a bridge on their right of way. So with that being said, I kind of felt like it was worth coming here and talking to you guys. This is an extraordinary circumstance, I think, that I'd like to go ahead and extend my pond, and I want to do it right, so I don't have to worry about down the road there being an issue.
So basically what we would be doing is granting Walt a variance to allow him to basically go against our ordinance. So you guys understand what we would be doing here. Do you guys have questions?
What exactly are you changing other than the size?
Other than the size of the pond that's there, that's it.
Okay.
We wouldn't change any drainage.
Drainage
No.
and none of that. And does that pond, after you change that, is it going to have different ways of getting water out of it? Or just exactly the way you had it?
It would still be the same way it is now.
Okay. And you have contacted the property owners next time?
They have been contacted through the public, and they've all received letters. They've contacted me, and actually most of them have called me and said, hey, if you need my support, come in. And I said, well, we'll just go through this. And I think it's a simpler issue than, you know, we're not breaking any laws necessarily with IDEM, you know, so it's pretty simple.
And can you give me a reason why you want to make it bigger?
Just for my preference, it's my property. I want to make it nicer.
So I need to know.
Is this all cut, Walt?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So you're not changing any drainage patterns?
Mhm.
Nothing at all?
No, Scott Sanders came out and looked at it and was like, I don't know what the problem will be here. So, and the field that drains into it is, I can't remember his name now, but he called me and we talked about it, and he's like, he has no problem here. So,
There's no known subsurface drainage that goes through that projected pond spot side.
no, there's not. There's no tiles or anything.
Any other questions? Anyone from the public have any comment? Hearing none, I'll look for a motion.
Make the motion that we vote on 2020-2210.
I second the motion.
I'll read the votes. Gary Fisher, yes. Rick Hoeing, yes. Brad Schutte, yes. Jamie Livingston, yes. Joyce Brindley, yes.
All right, well,
Thanks.
thank you. Thanks for going through the process. Next item on our agenda, BZA petition 2022-7, Open Road Renewal LLC. Ice Miller LLP is requesting a special exception in an A1 zoning classification for construction of a battery energy storage system facility. Property is currently owned by Robert and Elaine Palmer and is located west of 2080 West County Road 400 North Greensburg and Adams Township. And I believe we have Cyrus, correct?
Yes, sir. Cyrus Tashikori, Open Road Renewables. Thank you, and it's good to be in front of the board for a third time here. I'm going to keep this relatively brief, but happy to go over any of the previous information we discussed. Cyrus Tashikori, Open Road, and I'm here with Council Tim Hawks. If you could go to the first slide. Where is this? Oh, thank you. So again, you've seen a lot of this information, so I'll breeze through it, but we're proposing to locate a battery energy storage project that's called the Fletcher Power Project next to the Hoosier Energy Decatur County Substation. This would store electricity from the grid in banks of batteries, same kind of batteries that are in your laptop or cell phones or electric cars. And these are safe. There's a lot of focus on safety in the design and the regulation. And thanks to this board and a lot of the folks who've in the public who participated in conversations, we've improved the project and made it a lot safer. We can talk about that. And in a nutshell, the project would pay $9.5 million in local tax revenue in the first 20 years of operation. And happy to talk more about that as well. I wanted to share two new slides. This really talks about an issue that we have talked extensively with staff and with Hoosier and with members of the public about, which is just to clarify what this project is and what it isn't. So Fletcher Power is not a renewable or alternative energy project, nor is it affiliated with such projects. Just like the substation next door, Fletcher would not generate power, but it would manage how electricity travels across the transmission system. So the electricity is generated somewhere else, and this, like the substation, the transmission system, just works with those electrons. So it's not a generator. And one other note that we've talked with a lot of folks about is the fact that by utilizing what is a scarce resource, which is headroom on the grid, this is just capacity on the grid, this would actually make a new solar or wind project more difficult to fit into the grid in Decatur County. That some people think that's good news, so I wanted to share that with you. And then we also understand that these three points have been independently confirmed with Hoosier Energy representatives by the staff and perhaps by the board. So next slide, please. So just a few updates. At the request of the board, we went to the zoning ordinance that doesn't apply to this project, but we used those specifications to put together a robust landscaping buffer around the perimeter of the project. We've shared that, a couple versions of that with staff. We've continued to engage in dozens of hours of discussion. I'm sure some of the folks here who live near the project are tired of talking with me, but I'm happy to say that, you know, we've made it a much better project. We have come to agreement to address adjoining landowner concerns. First off, a new permitting condition or two new permitting conditions that limit development of wind, solar, or any kind of transmission line from a wind and solar project to that substation, limits that on both sides of the project. And secondly, after construction starts, we will no longer own about 28 acres of land that are situated on both sides of the project. So we'll give up control of that to help also, you know, with that particular concern. And as I mentioned, we did update the landscaping plans provided over 2 weeks ago to the staff prior to tonight's hearing. So I wanted to show you, this is the top left part of this slide shows this 40-foot thick landscaping buffer. And you can kind of see what that would look like after it's grown up. This is probably too thick to survive. So, but in the ordinance, it does allow staff to, you know, make reasonable changes to this for things like that. So this is what we've proposed. And lastly, just want to show you what that looks like around the layout. So this is now a 40-foot thick landscape buffer around everything except right underneath the transmission line on the northeast side. And again, everything to the east and west of this and a strip to the north will be not owned or controlled by Fletcher once construction starts. I have some backup slides, but no need to go into them unless there are questions. I have to answer questions from anybody. Thank you.
Lord, do you have any questions?
Question, sorry, so this is the vegetated street here?
Yes, sir.
So this is what?
That is the internal roadway, and it's built to one of the specifications, one of the commitments, conditions, I guess you call them, is to design that roadway to the specifications of EMS folks. So that's one, I think, condition maybe 3 or something.
So they need to do their vehicles.
Exactly, they ask for specific, you know, material and dimensions.
So they're having turn radiuses and all this.
Exactly.
Thank you. Cyrus, I'll first say I applaud you and your company for your diligence and professionalism in willing to work with the county on this project. So I'm just going to put a lot of effort in making this successful. Just one question I had, and it came up last time, was still a question that maybe got altered, but not maybe the intent I was hoping, but item C on your final commitment, where it talks about the decommissioning period, 24 months. I know I expressed at the last meeting that maybe that was a little too excessive. Can you explain why we stuck with that 24 months? I understand that sometimes things happen and to no fault of your own or the owner's fault, so.
Honestly, it's an oversight. I think we were asking for 12 months, and we can just make that change. So, okay, that's all right.
Any other questions? Krista, could you explain the technical review committee's decision, please? You want me to run it down for you?
Yeah.
So basically, the technical review committee met and they had several questions, basically legality-wise, how this worked with our comp plan. Those questions were answered to their satisfaction as far as whether this was considered, what was it, Krista? Basically for our comp plan, the broad,
Yeah, the comp plan says.
the renewable,
It was a renewable or long-term.
we found it on your email.
Thanks.
That's our legal counsel, by the way. So the decision was made that the classification of the BAS as a renewable energy development determined that it is not a renewable energy development itself because it does not produce electricity. So that basically calmed that fear. The safety, that obviously this is new technology, but the committee decided that the concerns and the things that you guys have done to address those were sufficient. And I mean, obviously there's ongoing safety concerns, but there's safety concerns with everything in life. EMA did add, so the Emergency Management Association added a 5-year review of the plan, and that was added into the commitments. This was requested by the EMA director. Essentially, this is to ensure that every 5 years they step back, take a look at it, and everything is updated as far as safety concerns go. That way things don't get stagnant. If technology changes, we're covered. So with that in mind, the Technical Review Committee basically gave a favorable recommendation to the project. I just wanted to explain that publicly. That had been sent out to us, but I wanted that publicly talked about on record. Through that, do you guys have any more questions? Okay. Cyrus, you can have a seat for a minute and I will look for any remonstrance from the crowd or any public comment on the matter. Albert?
Yep. Albert Arnold. I noticed in his presentation this evening that he mentioned that there were some restrictions on running lines and from renewables to this. Would you elaborate on that some, please?
Conditions.
Yeah, go ahead, Cyrus.
So I'm gonna just grab the copy of the conditions here. So the two, I think it's the last two conditions, 11 and 12, if I recall. One of them says basically no wind, no solar on any acreage outside of this project area. That's part of this parcel. So it's a 65-acre parcel, and there would be a condition imposed on the remaining acreage that would limit wind or solar. And the second condition is, let's say there's a solar project somewhere else and they want to try to connect to the substation through this parcel. That transmission line similarly would be not permitted as a condition of this project on any of the adjacent acreage. So if there's a solar project unrelated to this parcel but coming through, trying to come through this particular ground, it would not be permitted. But in addition to that, we won't own the land to the east and to the west and strip to the north. So it's kind of double coverage on that concern. That answer your question? Yes, sir.
So if they put in a solar farm, they could still utilize, in theory, through battery storage. Is that correct?
So I want to really be clear on this one. So this is, first of all, this is a standalone facility. If it's built, it's going to be built without a solar project anywhere near it. And if there's never a solar project built anywhere near it, that's fine. We don't care. There's not a project associated with it. This is directly adjacent to the substation, which is right to the east of the project. Because of its proximity, whenever you have a true renewable energy project, like a solar project, you just can't dump the electricity onto the grid. That electricity has to go to a substation, and then the substation uploads it onto the grid. And so if there was going to be someone was at some point in time in the future would ever try to propose a solar project in the area, they've got to take the electricity that their solar project is generating, and they've got to get that electricity to the substation. And so what we've done is we've done two things to try to make that impossible to the extent we can, to the extent it's within our control, make them possible for a solar farm developer to get to the substation. And if they can't get to the substation, they can't build their solar project. So the two things we've done, which is what Cyrus was discussing, is first of all, we said on the larger acreage of which this facility is a part, it specifically prohibits us from granting a right for anyone to cross property with a line that would get to the solar station. So it's like a blocking maneuver. Second, we're going to end up selling strips of property on the east, west, and north side to some of the surrounding property owners. And they have the ability, as the owner of that property, to say, we're not going to, grant anything to any easements or rights of a solar project across that property. So if there's a solar project that wants to go in Decatur County and it's going to be to the west or north, or really even southwest of this project, they're not going to be able to do it because they won't be able to get to the substation. So in effect, this is physically blocking that from happening.
Are you making that restriction covenant to run with the parcels that are being sold?
Absolutely. So the way these commitments are drafted, it applies to the entirety of the 64 acres. And so it'll be placed of record in the chain of title. So regardless of who owns it, now or in the future, it can change hands 10 times, I don't care. Because we put it in the chain of title, it will bind all future owners. And the only way it can get changed is if someone comes before this board and at a public hearing and asks for it to be changed. And you would have the discretion, obviously, to say no. So this will be placed in the chain of title to the property and will act as a blocking mechanism for portions of the county which just won't be able to get to the electric substation. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you.
So one more clarification there, is that for the life of the property or is that for the life of the BESS system? If the BESS system is decommissioned, do those commitments carry as well?
They're a commitment that is in the chain of title to the property. Even if someone takes the position that they go away because it's not being used for special function, that's one of the reasons why we call it belt and suspenders. Even if someone takes that position, because we're selling the strips to surrounding property owners, they also have the ability to block. So we wanted to make sure that that wasn't an issue. We think it lasts forever until this board changes it, but even if someone's clever enough to figure out a way to say that isn't true, there's still the backup, which is we're selling the strips.
And also note that this is a special exception, so when that facility does go away with special exception, would leave with it and go back to
Ag.
Thank you. Board, do you have any follow-up questions on that? Okay, do we have any other public comment or question?
Just curious, I don't live around here I'm not familiar with this property. You mentioned the north, south, and west. What about the east? I just don't know what's there. So
That's the substation.
what about, when we're talking about getting power to the substation, what's east of the substation? So I'm
My
just saying-
hayfield.
I'm just saying.
Be honest with you, my hayfields.
So what I'm getting at, there's still ways that the solar farm, wind farm energy, and it has to go to the substation first anyways. to get-
Right, but that has nothing to do with this parcel.
Correct. I'm just trying, like I said, I'm not familiar with that. So I was curious what was on the east side of the substation. Yeah, I understand. that.
Yeah.
So I
Okay,
need that question answered.
other public comment? Lynn?
Thanks, Brad.
I know I've said a lot during this whole process, but just wanted to recap. Quite honestly, Mark and I don't know if we can trust any neighbors, I want to be honest with you, because that's why we're in this situation. But as far as working with us, Open Road, the last couple of months, has worked with us more than any neighbor we've had in the past. And I've said that even with my opposition before, I've said that about Cyrus and his professionalism. So we had three major concerns: safety. We've exhausted him at the safety level. And quite honestly, I'm tired of talking. I'm tired of talking to him too. But no disrespect, Cyrus. But safety seems to be that for us, and it's just its existence, not a threat. It's more of a catastrophe type of issue, which can exist in anything that you do. So we vetted it, we drilled him, we've done our own research, and we feel that the safety issue is something that can fit within the community. Second was landscaping. We appreciate what you guys did in pushing the, I will say, very diligent landscaping request. And for Cyrus to meet that in the fashion that he did was, I think, a professional deed to the neighborhood. That's 40 foot thick. I don't know if people, that's like more woods than people live around. So I do think they met that obligation. And then our third one was expansion. Because we already had the substation in there, and I got property sitting in front of me that I'm still working on that I didn't get any help with out of this whole ordeal. Cyrus is actually the first one. Nobody in this community reached out to me. He's the first one that tried to help me with Hoosier. So that says a little something about his company. But expansion, he's mentioned that the land to the east and west, yes, it's a negotiation. We will both say it's fair, right, Cyrus? I think that's what a negotiation should be, right? A good one. There is still land to the north. He mentioned the limitations that he put on it. And then he also came off a strip at his very north boundary that puts us in play if anybody tries to. I'm not a legal expert. I'm nothing of that sort, but it does put us in play if anybody tries to do anything. So from an expansion standpoint, I feel we're still, there's 17 to 18 acres to the north of their station that we've been negotiating back and forth. I think what they've done with that limitation and the permits they're putting on it is effective. I'm a little scared that if you guys aren't on board when somebody years down the road comes, if you guys could do anything extra in your minutes or notes, I don't know how that works, to help any of that out, that would be appreciated as well. But from an expansion standpoint of this facility, I think Cyrus has worked with us better than any neighbor that we've had so far living where we do. As a matter of fact, he's the only neighbor that talked to us about any of the substation or the batteries coming in. No other neighbor talked to us, and I hope something in Decatur County starts to change on that. And I won't get off on my tangent. Other than that, I want to explain, I think everything they said from what we've talked about has been reciprocated. They have done everything they could on that side. On the east side is my strip of land. Hoosier sits in front of me, which I'm still trying to work out and would appreciate anyone's help that can help me. To the east is another farm, and it's another neighbor. And I think until neighbors around this area start acting like maybe neighbors that don't live in this area, we're constantly going to be worried about it. But that's why we have a BZA board, to be honest, is to protect the integrity of the community.
East of your driveway is locked up until they tell me different, so.
So, yeah. So that's where we're at. And I wanted to give a professional nod to Open Road. It's been a long road, but Mark and I'll let Mark speak for himself, have felt that it's been fair.
Thank you, Brad. Another public comment? You don't want to speak, Mark?
You just took all the words on my
Any other public comment? Board members, do you have any more questions?
questions. I just think both sides have done an outstanding job presenting information. It's a lot.
It's a lot for us to read, but we all get
digest,
it.
but it is appreciated because
Yes.
it's huge. So thank you very much to both sides.
I think as we look forward in our energy life here, as it's changing before our eyes, there's gonna be more discussions of this type for this board in this county. And I think this prepares us for some of those eventualities that we're looking at.
I really appreciate the city very much.
If there's no other comments, I will look for a motion.
You go on 2022-7.
I second the motion.
This will, basically, we're gonna stipulate all of the commitments with the change
24 months.
to 12 months. And then the 40-foot buffer, we will use Krista's discretion on that as far as working with you guys as we do on most of those type of projects. Because the density is a concern. I deal with those and that isn't gonna grow well. But the density can be corrected there and proper vegetation laid out. Were there any other commitments missing that you can recall that we need to add or note? I think that covers.
That's everything. I didn't see the last stuff that went up, because I guess it just came in this afternoon and I didn't receive like what was on your slideshows, but were there any other changes that were negotiated with the property owners that weren't conveyed to us in the commitments?
No, there was nothing else. It was, everything was in the commitments that we had submitted a week or two ago.
Okay.
I'll read the votes. Carrie Fisher? Yes. Brad Shudy? Yes. Janie Livingston? Yes. Rick Cohen? Yes. And Joyce Friendly? Yes.
Cyrus, the petition passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and just wanted to say, I know you mentioned it, but you did have a whole lot of information thrown at you, and I'm sure it took a whole lot of effort on your part, and we genuinely appreciate that. Thank you very much.
I will say the process worked.
Yeah.
I mean, our process worked.
I agree.
I gave everybody the opportunity that they needed, and as Brent mentioned, that's what this board's here for, is to protect the smaller voices, and I think it worked in this instance.
I've appeared at over, actually probably now with 50 jurisdictions across the state of Indiana. And you guys ought to go on a little tour, give a lecture. You did it right, so
No,
thank you.
I'm not doing any more than I have. Let me assure you.
I think that when you send out so many things to us, it puts our mind a little bit easier at trying to figure out what's going on.
So thank you.
Thank you. And that is the last item on our agenda for the BZA. I will look for a motion to adjourn.
Go ahead. Second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That's right.
This is not just bad.
That's smart. That's what we're about.
No.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
that's a good
horrible.
idea.
That was.
Can utilize it to make something for himself.
Good to see you guys.
Just wish I had some better ideas. I eat pork I'm here for the long haul. The area plan commission comes out. You can actually get involved in this one. Like your own reality. There you go. Yep. Right. How's it going? Pretty good. How's Brad? I'm seeing your smiling face on TV the other morning.
Oh, did you really? Oh, shit. Probably should apologize for that. I'm playing on the radio. It's an interview that I did on the way to Jacksonville to watch my sister, my daughter run cross country. I'm just rambling, you know, keep my eyes on the road. I had people call, hey, I heard you on Tony Class or something. I haven't even listened to it. I refuse to listen. I don't want anything I read or quote or anything like that. We'll see you guys.
Right. Yes, ma'am. Am I in trouble yet?
No,
Not
I'm just
yet?
letting them know when they're done, they can go, they don't have to stay.
Can I stay?
You may stay, yes.
Thank you.
Well, three. So did you already do your first one?
Well, I've got
Huh?
Dawson took off?
Yeah, he took off.
So what's going on in his meeting?
I got a house right here, close by. Oh, yeah. So I stand on that. Well, pushed up, it's relatively back. I mean, it's well outside of that. But, you know, and I make it a point, when somebody's within a mile.
Perfect. You?
Find out.
What's going on?
We're just working on some stuff, that's all.
Anyway, I make it somebody could go around and let me make the probably a good collection.
No, not too hard.
Hi.
Hey, man, tell Rita she can sit here. She got a chair? No, she can sit here. She can sit
I
here.
don't think she wants to stand if I was her. She said she wants to just jump.
Okay.
This is our. Calling the September 7th, 2022 meeting of the Decatur County Area Planning Commission to order to comply with Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Decatur County requests participants in this meeting to complete a voluntary anonymous survey that is available on the table in the back of the room. First item on the agenda, approval of the August 15th, 2022 minutes. Everybody should have had those in their packet. Does anybody have any additions or corrections to those? Hearing none, I'll look for a motion to accept.
Make a motion to accept.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. And so accepted. First item on the agenda, APC petition 2022-19, Morris and Wendy Bowman are petitioning to vacate the McCammon subdivision plat and to rezone approximately 10 acres of 44.4303 acres from an A1, A2 zoning classification to a B2 zoning classification to build a wedding venue event center. The property is owned by the petitioner and is located just north of 541 South County at 850 East Greensburg in Salt Creek Township. Morris and Wendy, could you please come up and tell us about your project?
Sorry, a little nervous here. My wife has prepared a statement to review all of you guys what we're planning on, but her father just went into hospital today. So my daughter's going to read it because she doesn't read, she can get through it. So this is Taylor Miller.
Good evening, everyone. While we know there are other venues located in Decatur County, we believe our venue will check off most of the boxes a bride and groom are looking for. Our venue will be nestled in our own 13-acre woods. It will be private and picturesque while offering many amenities such as heating and AC, ample parking, handicap accessibility, outdoor cocktail area, and bridal and groom suites, just to name a few. Our venue will help bring outside revenue to Decatur County. Located about a mile off the New Point exit, we are perfectly located halfway between Indianapolis and Cincinnati. We believe our venue will be a top choice in Decatur County and will also be able to draw in clients from out of town. We hope to promote local vendors and put them on our preferred list, so clients from out of town will know that they are hiring vendors that will give them the same quality as care as we will. We are very fortunate to be located less than a mile from North Branch Golf Course. Our venue will pair perfectly with North Branch. Groomsmen can go out and play around the golf while the bridal party is decorating. Not to mention that a bed and breakfast and beautiful Airbnb are located just up the road, as well as local hotels for accommodating guests from out of town. We hope you will consider granting us this rezoning. Our venue will take care of all of our clients' wedding needs. It will fill the void of the higher end experience in Decatur County, as well as attract clients from out of town. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Board members, do we have questions? Sure we do. Morris, it looks like you went through everything as far as septic and all those requirements go. We have to start them down that road.
I've had some of the residents reach out with some concerns. I think you guys have put together a nice business plan. I mean, it looks like you've put some thought into this, obviously, at this level. Can you give me an anticipated traffic load and idea for the neighbors? So what they would look for, the number of weekends per year, the number of days of the 365 you would anticipate 20, 30 cars coming in and out of the property, things like that.
What we would anticipate right now is probably minimal traffic on Fridays where the wedding parties come in to decorate, get ready for Saturday. 10, 15 cars, I would say, for a Friday while they're decorating. Depends on how big their wedding party is, how many people they have decorating. On the actual wedding day of Saturday, it could be, we want a capacity of 250 people is what we're shooting for. That could be anywhere from 100 cars to 75, I'm guessing. I would not assume they're all going to be arriving at one time. Not everyone's going to go to the wedding portion of it. Some will come later on for the reception only. We were planning to have the venue shut down by 11:30 every night. When all the guests need to be gone, they need to be cleaning up and getting out of there within a reasonable amount of time. We are also planning on having security there. We have talked to a local deputy and some SROs at school that they would be interested in doing security work while the event is going on. So that eliminates hopefully all the underage drinking, people getting plowed like Eddie'sburg has a reputation for. We're not going for that reputation. We want a hiring place where people come in, have a great experience, enjoy their day, and start their new lives together. We would be open for other events like the hospital Gala Foundation. I know they go out of county now for their huge fundraiser. Maybe if we get everything done right, we could attract them to keep the money here in town, in the county.
So did I hear a capacity of 250? Is
Yes,
that what the
that's
venue
what we're-
will?
Yeah, that's what we're sizing the building for.
That's all on Napoleon Water System.
Yes, the water line ends on the driveway of my property.
And have you looked into capacity on the sprinkler for that water?
As far as I know, there is no, we would have to apply for a fire variance because basically there's no place in the town that has anyone in the county that has a sprinkler system for a building, is what I've been told. We would probably apply for a state variance for a fire variance, which is probably going to result in more exits, is what we've kind of been led to understand from Debbie and the clerks up there.
Traffic plans, would you anticipate more some kind of a entry and exit lane off of the road, or would it just be a single drive right to it? Well, one of the things that I imagine it's not a terribly wide road right through there. That kind of traffic trying to turn in and out, and then kind of, I guess, someone turning in at the same time someone's turning out. It would seem like if this were all to work, that there should be something addressed so the traffic can continue to flow a little bit as someone slowing down and turn in. What would your drive idea look like?
I'm going to expand the driveway probably 18 to 20 foot wide, going all the way back, so we can get 2 lanes of traffic going in and out at all times.
I see what you're saying, like a side out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something we may have to address with the county. Because there is a road ditch right there and the electric poles are pretty close. So I don't know how that would work. I'd have to look into that. As far as the drive itself going back, it'll be a 2-lane driveway going all the way back. So in the event there is an emergency, a emergency vehicle has full access to getting back, even if someone happens to be leaving.
Okay.
Any other questions from the board? Hearing none, I'll request my seat. We will look for some public comment. To start with, Krista received a letter, and I'm just going to read through this. September 6th, 2022, address of Decatur County Area Planning Commission's property owners near the property of Morris and Wendy Bowman on 850 East. We would like to voice our concerns about the rezoning from A1, A2 to B2 for an event center. We are strongly opposed for the following reasons. 1, increased property value for those property owners living nearby. 2, increased traffic with significant probability that there will be impaired drivers. 3, general safety of existing homes and property. 4, increased noise, traffic, music, partying. 5, general disrespect for existing homeowners' property. 6, loss of rural setting. 7, disruption of wildlife habitat. 8, increased roadside trash. 9, if it is zoned for business and a Bowman's change their mind, what other sort of businesses might purchase the property. We choose to settle here because it's a quiet rural farming community and we want to keep it that way. The threat of business on our county road is disruptive and disturbs our way of life. Thank you very much. And there's multiple neighbors who are signed this. I just wanted to read that and make it part of the record. Do we have any public comment from any of those individuals or anyone?
I do.
Come on up here to the microphone and state your name.
Okay, the right of way,
I need your name.
Dennis King.
Thank you.
I own the property all the way back. When McCamick bought that, he promised me 32-foot right of way, which I thought but that didn't happen. I don't really know how wide that easement is. But right now, there's corn on both sides where they come in. If somebody's coming in, we almost hit each other now. I got a sister-in-law who's got an awful heavy foot. it ain't a matter when or if, it's when. So somebody will hit somebody coming in because you can't see. You just gotta crawl around that corner. So I don't know, this year the corn's not so high, but when I drove the school bus, you just had an edge out there to see, because nobody drives 50 mile an hour anymore. And yes, he's gonna make it wider, I understand that, but I just wonder who has the right of way on that easement. Whether we have to stop for their part of the easement, or do we have the right of way coming out the driveway?
That's a legal question.
I know that.
And it would be written into the easement.
Because the whole thing is that was sold to the DeValiuses years ago, and it's recorded in Ripley County. It's not recorded in Decatur County. That was a schoolhouse property, wherever that comes out. 3 acres come off of what was originally, who had 4 bears, but so I don't know. I guess that was all settled when McCammon bought it, but I don't know how you straighten all these things out.
They would definitely have to be addressed
Because
ahead of time.
I know it's gonna cause problems. It's just, she's got a heavy foot. It ain't gonna get lighter. That's one of my concerns. The other one is my well is 600 feet from that property line back here. Our water comes from the stone quarry. In the spring, now that they uncover a lot of rock, our water turns yellow, that lime yellow rock that they leave on top. And I replace the pump every 3 years. You just have to dump bleach in it to clear it up, and through the summer, it's all right. There's an open spring back there, not too far where they built. I don't know where the septic's going or what, but that spring never closed. Frankie DeValius always watered his cows there as a kid. That land was kind of open. It was moist then, and the hill slid. And another thing, I winter my about 25, 30 cows back there in the winter, and it's permanent pasture. I don't know. We lost a calf a few years ago that we didn't post her, but the vet figured it had consumed some plastic. Now, I know that's trouble with horses, but it's very rare with cattle. But there's going to be more cigarette butts and stuff coming down that creek, and I'll just leave it not. And it'll have to be fenced. I put that end of line fence in where I have cattle, but the creek has no water gap, and the rest of it is not fenced, because you will not keep people out when they see them pretty cows. Right now, I got a bunch of their calving back there. Wow, people are gonna climb that fence and try to get next to them baby calves. And when I got the bull in there, when you got a young bull, you're never much sure. Angus are pretty gentle, but when you run heifers back there and breed them back there, you're just never sure what that bull will do. I kind of stay out of his way. But, and yeah, the other thing, the McCammon acres. If you cancel that, what does that do? The way it was set up, they could build 4 houses around the cul-de-sac. They wanted to put one back off of my driveway. And when there was a hog building back there, and it's 600 feet, so they had to put all 4 around the cul-de-sac. Will that cancel any houses being built on that cul-de-sac now? The cul-de-sac will be gone, and that'd be a different story. Okay. If it goes, it goes. I'll get along with that. My neighbor always have, always will. Grandpa, Harry, I mean, we got along fine, and I still will, but I think he'd be better putting it over by the stone quarry on his property next to the interstate, where he may have access to the sewer line. I don't know. It's at the truck stop, and who owns it on the interstate, I don't know. But they can see the venue. It'd be handy from the interstate. It'd make a lot better sense than sticking it back here in the woods where the hill slid years ago. I don't know what kind of septic you could make work. Because I don't know, it probably won't affect my water, but if they put it in right, but I don't really like the location, but it is next to me, so I'm hollering, but good luck to them if they can get it done.
Thank you, Dennis. Other public comment?
I'd like to add. Yeah, I'm Greg Kinker, and I'm actually his son. The one concern I did have is end up with that parking lot and the building, all that runoff, and that will be coming our way. And it's just gonna be added flow for the fences that we do maintain. And I would like to see something, if it does go, some way that water isn't
That would have to
just
be.
coming straight down onto
Yeah,
and tearing out all our fences.
to clear that, our county drainage ordinance would control that. Very simply, there would be retention. I mean, that would be the base requirement here, and they're aware of that.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that was one of my concerns, was end up the runoff coming directly down across through them haulers.
Other public comment? So I want to make it, okay. I want to make it clear to you guys, we are short board members tonight. So, in other words, you've already got 3 no votes against you. So I always make it clear when we are short board members, when we get into these discussions. Something else that has been talked about, Paul and I have discussed, is whether the rezoning of this parcel is the best interest based on several different concerns. And that's something that we really wanted to look into a little more in depth. Hearing some of the concerns that we have heard.
Well, one of the biggest concerns, I think, is if this doesn't work, if something changes, I think that my general feeling is that the neighbors can probably swallow what could potentially happen with a venue like this, but what potentially the B2 could open up in the future should something change. So there may potentially be an avenue that would put some control over a permanent zoning change, but that would require a different thing, but would still allow what you all are looking to do. So, but we need to cross some T's and dot some I's on whether that's even an option.
So it'd be better just to table this and then further talk to you guys about.
That would be my recommendation.
Okay.
There's a fair amount of concern, I think, with everything, and I don't think we want to rush any judgment.
No, and we just went through one that you saw earlier.
Yeah.
We try to make it a process.
Right.
I mean, I think everybody wants things to work. but-
Right, and we don't want to tick off the neighbors, and we want to do this the best way possible to, get what we want and have this venue, but I don't want it to be a burden on the neighbors around us.
And we kind of chose back in that location because it is in the middle of the woods. I've got trees and vegetation to hopefully suppress the noise, to keep the lights down, to keep the noise down.
And that's our property, where the other property he was talking about is not our property.
The place where we live on, I don't own that. That belongs to my parents. In 20 years, I may own it, but as of right now, I don't own it.
So this is our option, yeah.
This is the ground I own. And we've tried to be as thoughtful for the neighbors as what we can to give us our dream, but try to not affect them in the least way possible.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be a heck of a lot easier for me to build it right up by the road. I mean, where I'm building it at is about the hardest place I could come up with. But it is hidden, it's out of the way, and it gives us that theme that we're going after.
So from our view, from my view especially, when we get this much feedback and remonstrance, that's when we need to step back and take a look at it. So that's why I'm recommending that. And it gives us an opportunity to do some research and really look into this a little more in depth.
So do you guys work with us to figure out how we need to do
Krista
this?
will.
Okay,
Yeah, you'll work through Krista with that stuff, and we
Okay.
basically will probably more or less have questions for Krista and Missy regarding what some of our options could be.
right,
Gives them spot, so, you know.
right.
And in the meantime, that also gives you guys an opportunity to address concerns of the neighbors.
Right.
And to work through those concerns, if they can be sorted out, if there's an avenue there.
Yeah. And I feel like we have done that. If any of them would have came and talked to us, we would have probably cleared some of that stuff off that list. And we're willing to do that because we want this to not be a burden on anybody around us, so.
Here's your chance. So as long as you guys are fine with that.
Yes.
I would like to table this and we will move on with it at the next monthly meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for everyone with the public side of it for voicing your concerns. Okay, next item on the agenda, APC petition 2022-20. John and Amanda Organist are petitioning to rezone approximately 2.99 acres from an A1 zoning classification to an A2 zoning classification for constructing a single-family detached dwelling. Property is owned by the petitioner and located just west of 5258 West County Road 1300 Southwest Court, Sand Creek Township. Saw John.
What's right here?
There's John, Amanda. Tell us about your project.
Well, right now, where the X is, that's where we're looking to rezone. That portion there is where we're gonna build a home facing 1300 south there. Right now, it was being leased out farming. Probably transition over into a USDA type program, bring it back into native grasses, wildflowers, and some small livestock. Eventually, once the homes are built and things are all settled in. That's about it. Not a whole lot of detail here.
More than one home, or just one home?
On the X? Yeah, there's just gonna be one home.
Okay, I just thought I heard you say when the homes are built.
Oh,
I
yeah,
wanted
sorry.
to be clear, I was
Yeah.
looking at one building.
Yep, there's no single family home there.
Questions, board members? Have any public?
What's the water status there?
If you look in the bottom corner, towards,
John, there's a pointer there, that purple, press the button.
right above there, is going to be a well. John Richards was out, witched it out, so well would go right in there.
Any other questions, board members? Any public comment, concerns? Come on, Albert.
Albert Arvin. I'm not an adjoining landowner, and I come here not to be against the project or for the project, but just more or less to provide information. We operate a fine feeding operation that's IDEM permitted. We farm to the east about a quarter of a mile, to the west a quarter of a mile, and a quarter of a mile south. So we are almost a quarter of a mile on three sides of their property. Because we operate have a hog operation, and we are a permitted operation that utilizes surface application from time to time. I think it's fair to warn you that you will know that you have a hog farm in the neighborhood.
We're out there quite a bit, we already know.
So that's my thing. I like to come to these meetings and make sure that everybody's aware that there is a agricultural operation, that is an agricultural area. But I was looking at that half mile by a mile section of land there where this is located on. I think there have been in the neighborhood of 12 houses put on there, that area since I can remember. If you figure about 3 acres apiece, that's about 12% of that property is no longer in agricultural use. If you're more realistic, it's probably closer to 25 or 30% of that land is no longer cropland. The board has a comprehensive plan that the county put together. A lot of good folks in the county worked very diligently to make sure that it represented the views of the county. I'd encourage you to use that. And going on the assumption of what's going to happen, I want to welcome my neighbors.
Thank you, Albert.
Yep.
Any other comments from the public? Hearing none, I'll look for a motion.
A motion we vote on APC petition 2022-20.
Second.
I'll read the votes. Paul Stone, yes. Tom Hunter, yes. Brad Shudy, yes. Tom Cherry, yes. Jay Shetler, yes. Brian Finley, yes.
All right, gentlemen.
Thank you, Bill.
Your petition passes. Thank you. And don't forget to stop in and see him in the office when we get things started.
Sounds good.
Next item on the agenda, APC petition 2022-21, Adam Millering is petitioning to subdivide approximately 2.99 acres out of 44.46 acres and rezone 2.99 from A1 zoning classification to A2 zoning classification to construction of single-family detached dwelling. Property is owned by Jason Levy Caswell and is located just south of 4447 West County Road 750 North, St. Paul and Adams Township. Adam, please tell us about your project.
As, like you said, just a house really, I mean, there's not a lot of detail. It's down an old farm lane that I believe Claps owned the easement all the way back, but Jason owns a good majority of it. It hasn't been farmed in the last 4 years, so there's really no agricultural land back there. It's been, we killed grass every year. Prior to Jason owning it, it was CRP grasses for just deer hunting for 10 years or something. So, and there's really not a lot to it.
So you'll have an easement?
Yep. Yeah, it's,
or it already exists?
Yes, it already exists.
There is an easement to get to the parcel?
Yes.
But you only.
Egress, utilities, all the way back.
Yeah, and there's people that have a tiny house that goes even past where I'm at that little square. That goes beyond, they got a tiny house back there that they have like gardens and stuff. They got beehives and stuff like that. So they go back there often. But basically right where the curve is, right where it zigs there or zags, that's basically where Jason's Jason's easement starts, right there. Then there's another parcel, I guess it's hard to see, but like right here.
That's gonna be with the recent parcel.
Yeah, this
Is a spot where Jason's easement could be put in, a new easement, right there. To where it'd be a new driveway completely. I you miss that, right here. Go straight through right there, that black line. easement right there, that could be, I mean, we could put a driveway right there if that was.
As long as there's an easement, that's it.
If that's
And it's
necessary.
tied to,
It is, yes.
to the rezone. Yeah.
Whenever he did it.
How's it maintained, as far as stone and things like that, who pays for that when construction happens and?
Just, I mean, there's a pad back there that I put back there that's just stone from Bruce Vandenberg from, St. Paul Quarry.
But as concrete trucks and things like that come in and then folks back there at the tiny house would like it fixed and things like that, is there?
Honestly, that driveway is so beat in and hard that I don't really ever see anything going wrong with it. I mean, I've added stone personally on there too, and it's still, it didn't need it. I just put it in because there's a couple big valleys, and I just put it in there, so.
But easements can tend to cause problems at points about who maintains it.
Right,
Things like
yeah,
that, so I just
yeah.
make sure you
And I got no
understand.
problem with maintaining it. I mean, that's fine with me. Jason owns the majority of it anyway, so him and I can split the cost. I mean, same with power, getting back there, and I plan to split the cost there.
You'll get your chance. Any other questions, board members? Okay. Is that public comment?
I do.
Go ahead and state your name, please.
My name's Kevin Jones. The 4437 that you see there on the map is my house. That easement, as Paul was just talking about, has only been maintained by me for the last 7 years. I've put stone in it, I've graded it, I've done everything. No one's ever paid me a dime for any of it. When you hit the curve and go back, from the curve back to your yellow line is actually my property. It's been maintained from that point back. I'm not necessarily 100% against a house being built back there. I do have questions though. If we zone that into residential, how long is it gonna be before we have another one? And it turns out to have a housing complex behind it.
It's mainly
Also,
ground, so.
I farmed that ground less than 3 years ago. And where they're building that house is wetter than wet gets. My other question is, if you're doing all that and putting a mailbox into the driveway, aren't we required by the county to have a building permit? Because I got a brand new mailbox at the end of the driveway, we got brand new concrete back there, concrete trucks flying up and down our driveway. I've never ever once seen a building permit or a
Don't have a building permit to pour concrete unless it's some kind of structure.
But you gotta have a building permit to put electric. And I'm not being mean, I'm asking a
Yeah, but
question.
not pour concrete.
Well, and like I said, I'm not against them doing what they're doing, but I have questions. We raise cattle on that, so how long is it gonna be before people are complaining about the mud and smell and the noise and that? That is a working cattle farm, has been for the last 8 years that I've owned it. You know, if you dig into that, you'll see all the calf huts scattered out there. You'll know what we're doing. And I'm not trying to pick at you, Adam, in any way, shape, or form, but there's questions I've got answered. I also have small kids that are gonna be going down that driveway, and we don't need 9,000 vehicles running.
I'm one man.
The reason that the driveway and where he's talking about it hasn't been maintained is right at that black line right there. There's a valley. I put a lot of stone in it to keep it from washing, and then went back and we had stone hauled in there to do it. And no one's ever offered me a dime, no one's ever paid me nothing, and I don't really care, but I quit fixing the holes because people wouldn't quit flying down the driveway. So that's literally my concerns that I have. Again, I'm not 100% against them building a house back there. The other thing is, where are we gonna put the electric poles?
It's all underground.
So, I mean, those are the questions. that
Well,
I
it
have.
would have to land within that easement.
Right,
That's all.
and he's wrong on where he's put the easement, because the easement's on the other side of that
It's on the
property.
survey. Here, it's on the survey.
What they showed me when I bought the farm was the easement runs right there, runs right down the edge of that driveway, right
Right.
straight, from that corner, straight to the road.
Bill Show had his own easement put in that runs
I'm
along
telling
that
you what they
edge.
showed me
This
was,
is all the information I have,
Yep.
because Lynn's survey.
Yep.
The easement runs over there.
We
and
can put that
comes
easement
in.
right wherever you want.
right, so I'm exactly correct. It comes right through here and it goes right to that curve and straight on back, which would make it go from right there at the edge of the road, straight to that curve and straight on back.
Okay, well, we got
Which
drawn in a little bit wrong.
He thought
It's
it
right on
went
the
over
property line.
here and come around, it doesn't.
Yeah, it does.
Well,
That's
there
what
it
the-
is.
That's what the
Right here.
easement says, right there. The survey says it. Right there.
What they showed is right. Well, then one person didn't even get the notification fee here because that goes around his property instead of mine. Because that little black line right there is not my property.
I know, it's Jason's.
No, it's not.
There's an easement right there that
That
is
is
his.
Bingham's property.
Correct.
Jason owns from right here straight back. He don't own anything else.
If you wanna look at that survey again, I mean, that's what it
You can
says.
look at whatever you want.
All right.
So you guys need to,
It's our decision to make, you guys plead your
You
case.
guys-
And I'm not trying to be hateful to anybody or mean, I'm just, I'm expressing my concerns. Those are my concerns, so I'll leave it at that and somebody else can go from there.
then it does come over. And that would have to be addressed. You
And
need to
maybe we
find
have it
out.
drawn in a little wrong.
Right.
And it's a
Yeah,
little
I mean,
bit
with this,
I'll pull my maps, I mean, I have no problem with that, and again, I'm not trying to be hateful, I had questions and I wanted to ask them. I'm not 100% against it, but certain things gotta be
And on
addressed.
those easements, I mean, it's really, who wants to deal with, when it's a shared driveway, who
Yeah.
wants to deal with it till it gets bad enough? If they can't.
Kevin, I
talk
got
it
no
over.
problem splitting that cost with you or doing it all myself. I don't care. I mean, cause right now, them potholes up front are really bad. I mean,
And
you
they
can-
got
you can
left
lose
that
a tire
way
in
because
there.
people would not quit racing down the driveway.
How many
I fixed
people
them
are
twice.
using this easement? I'm missing.
yeah.
Are we missing?
Are there a lot of people using this easement?
I mean, this is a new guy that's gonna buy 3 acres off of a guy that owns 44. Who else is using?
Jason.
We use it.
The
She
people all the
owns
way
it.
back. They have that tiny house. They have a couple people that go all the way back there and hang out during the week and during the summertime, cause they have a garden, they have bees. And also, I mean, Jason, he's got buddies that hunt it. We plant food plots for deer. I mean, it's used quite regularly by us. By me,
Jason's
it's
your son?
No, Jason's the property owner of what I'm buying, the yellow square.
Oh, okay, who, I think they said.
No.
So who's up in the black square up by the main road?
His name is Dan Bingham.
Dan Bing.
He's Eric Whitaker's brother-in-law.
Which Jason has talked to him about this and he doesn't have a problem with it.
Now, my other question is, I see the red square where you're thinking about doing that, but is that going to the property line? Is that facing north? Is that north? So I can
Yes.
ask that. Okay, are you coming to the yellow line on the south when that's surveyed and the west property line is gonna be your
Yes.
2.9 acres
Yep.
of that corner? It's
Yep.
not.
Correct, it's not out in the middle, yeah, it's, yeah.
That's fine, I just want.
It actually takes up most of that open bottom corner where that red is. It's 2.9 acres, so it goes all the way, it owns a couple, maybe 50 feet of the actual easement itself is what the survey says.
Any other public comment?
Good evening, Alex Dillon. So I own, what did you bring up here? Right here, this strip of land here. Yeah, as well as that green mark right there going out. I am a proponent of small government, absolutely right. So if somebody owns the land, they should be able to do whatever they want with it. With that being said, as a adjoining landowner there, I don't want to see, 10 houses go up back there either.
No.
So this is just one person just buying some land and putting a house back there. But I just want to be clear is what's going to happen.
That is.
We all, Jason and I both, we want to keep it as hunting land as much as possible. I'm going to keep my portion where I build as wide as I can. I might even plant trees around it to keep the deer, at bay to where they're comfortable, because we want to keep it as natural as possible. We don't want to disturb anything at all. We just want to keep it the way it is and just keep hunting deer. So.
I mean, with that being said, that's probably some of the best hunting ground in that 100 acres.
Absolutely.
In Decatur County, right, in that area there, so.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's all this is to rezone that.
Yeah.
That's all we're doing.
That's why we're keeping it so far away from that chunk is.
So yes, that's all that it is one house.
Anything else, Alex, would have to be a separate petition. Anytime that something else would happen, it would have to be any thing else would have to come before this board just like this.
It would have to come back again.
Well, I like that it's in the corner and not chopping it up in the middle, that's a good thing, I think.
And that easement there, that driveway back and forth, they'll remain as a driveway, right? Or not?
It's
We'll be able to
forever
go around
those
the
The
property.
easement has to be clarified, but yes.
It won't be turned into a road where,
No.
county won't take it over now. One thing I'll just say, as the landowner there who put a house up there 6 or 8 years ago, good luck finding water for a well.
Sister.
Yeah, good luck with that. After 4 dry wells, we move on.
I see her.
Yeah.
Any other public comment?
Stephen Boyer, I'm the property owner to the east, all that, along both sides of the river. I've got a question, since the adjoining property owner to me is here towards the road. Who owns that little notch out of the yellow up there in the northeast corner?
That's part of my property.
You come all the way back to that?
Yeah, all the way, that was,
Survey that was presented to me about a year ago left a strip between you and that yellow line that came right to me. And I was just curious if that's getting corrected. I do agree with Kevin, about the easement. I farmed that ground before Kevin did. It is wet back there. And the drive has at least 3 culverts under it that have always been problematic. They wash it. We get a good rain, they wash, and they wash out. So that issue about the easement is definitely gonna have to be corrected. I'm a little bit of a disadvantage. I just flew in from Daytona Beach 5 hours ago, 6 hours ago. One of my tenants on property let me know that this meeting was happening. So I haven't even seen the petition, but I just wanted to voice my opinion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comment?
My name is Alice Clapp, and we own, I guess let's see if they work.
A button on the side of it there that.
Thank you. We own and farm this area here all the way back to here. And my concern is that that with all the traffic that is apparently going back through there, hunters, et cetera, that is it going to be increased even more now that there's a residence there and attracting even more hunters into this area right here? So I'm concerned about that, and I want to make it known publicly right now that I'm not maintaining that road. It would be up to the gentleman here that wants this house. I want to remind them that it is a farmland. There's farm equipment. We usually access the land over on this area, so we do not use that access road, so it will not have heavy farm equipment or anything like that. Right over in this area is a confined hog operation. I would hope that the petitioner would be aware of the odors, et cetera, that come from that area. The second thing is, this is the county road through here. All of this, of course, is all private. If you're gonna build a house right here, your children are gonna have a long way to go to get that school bus, because the road currently would not support a school bus coming down through there. It would need to be improved in order to have a school transportation. And my understanding is that you do have family, so I just wanna bring that to your attention. That is a long way.
I have one daughter.
One daughter.
Yeah, and I take her to school every day, so.
Do you? Oh,
Yeah.
so that would not be a problem
No.
with you, okay. But just remember that you are building in a farming community, and, there's, spraying for weeds, which sometimes will drift over into a residential place, and, you might not be happy with that. And then the odor from the confined farming. But otherwise, I don't have a problem with it. We own right up to right up to this. I drove down through there recently. That road is an absolute horror. I would hate to have to get out of there in a hurry on a really wet day, because it is very wet through there. That's all I have to say.
Other public comment?
Can I say something myself again?
Yeah, I was gonna, yeah, you can come on back up. Board members, you have any further questions to the petitioner?
I think I would just encourage you to, that was the reason I asked initially before all this imploded, was about this easement. It seems like sometimes they can become sticking points, and oftentimes these situations and relationships can degrade if there are disagreements. So I'd encourage you guys to try and come up with some kind of something on paper about how the cost share, whether that's by the distance or the number of feet or something, but try and make that arranged and better before it would become worse. That would be my piece of advice on it. Go ahead.
So that road, I mean, just basically that easement raising for the curve is the worst part of it. All the way back, it's completely fine. There's maybe one or two potholes and they're not filled with water. Especially this time of year, from May till October, maybe November, you can drive a concrete truck straight in the yard. I mean, it's completely dry. It is bone dry. Nowhere near what these guys are making sound. So, I mean, I literally had them go through there. I got pictures if you want them. I mean, it's bone dry. So, and then also, I'm a great neighbor. This guy knows it. I lived on his property for 6 years and maintained his 100 acres. So he knows I'm a good neighbor. And Kevin, I know Kevin, him and Jason have had a quarrel, and I don't even know what it is.
I have no problem with it.
Whatever you guys have, it has nothing to do with me. I'm just a guy that's gonna be moving in, hopefully. And I mean, I'll take
That's all right.
I'll take every responsibility with that driveway if you want me to. I don't care, because I mean, I don't like seeing it just run it up.
So where this stands is, we're, and I'm gonna tell you, like I tell everybody else, we're short 3. But regardless, you guys would have to sort something out for the easement, obviously. So that needs to be made clear.
I'm fine with that. I mean, I tell him now, I'll tell him again, I'll go up to his front door and say, hey, you want me to do it this time? I mean,
I would recommend drawing that out and actually having a lawyer draw it up, would be my recommendation.
And record it.
And record it here at the courthouse that way, and that protects you as well.
But,
You know,
yeah,
that you-
absolutely.
It's something that
I
you
know how it
both
works.
agree on, and then it's taken care of.
Sounds like it's 3. Jason, this man right here.
Yes.
yeah, and the people that live all the way back.
Yeah, that would be Alice's, because until you get to the curve, that belongs to her.
She said she's not maintaining.
No, I can access it
Yeah, she can, I mean,
All
You don't
the
have to.
west, it goes over several plots further.
Put something in
I'm
there
not
that if
going
she
to.
ever sells it, then they have to.
Well, that's why when Jason bought property from Bill Shove, that's why Bill put that easement in over there, just in case this ever happened.
An easement's an easement, that'll never.
well, if Bill put that in after I bought that farm,
We owned it before Show.
we owned it before Shobe sold him that ground to
I'm
Castle.
just telling you what the easement says.
I'm not arguing with you, I'm not being.
I'm just saying.
Come on, come up there.
Yeah,
Let's-
you'll have to go to the courthouse and sort all that out. All right, board members, any other questions? Hearing none, I'll look for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we vote on the 2022-21.
A second.
Second.
I'll read the votes. Paul Stone, yes. Tom Hunter, yes. Brad Shuey, yes. Tom Cherry, yes. Brian Canelli, yes. Jay Shetler, yes.
Okay, your petition passes, thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Congratulations.
Appreciate it.
And that is the last item on our agenda, so I will look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
Second.
all those in favor say aye. Aye.